right, so here we are in Power BI. So what we're going to do is now create a blank report, and we'll just call this Nexion Holdings. All right, so the first thing we want to do now, once we get in here, is bring in our data. So we'll go into Get Data, and we know all our Excel tables are going to be actual Excel workbooks. So I'm just going to click on Excel Workbook here, and we'll go ahead and start bringing in our data. So we got one at a time, so I'll do company stats first. All right, so we know there's 3 different tables, so we're going to click on each one, and we're going to bring them all in. We can see a preview here as well, but the preview, depending on how many rows of data you have, it's not always going to show everything. But since these are small tables, it really doesn't apply. So we're going to go ahead and click on Load. I'm not going to transform the data yet because we'll transform it all at one time. And then our tables are here on the right-hand side. As you can see, they loaded. And since we had a sheet name in Excel, it also loaded the sheet name with it instead of just showing sheet 1 or sheet 2 or things like that. So we have the actual name tied to it. We'll do the same thing again. And now I'll bring in contract details. And same thing, we'll just click on everything. We'll click on Load. We'll go to People Stats. We have current, gains, and losses. We'll load that, go back, we'll go to Position Summary, and we'll bring in all the different positions that we have, and it looks like we have everything. So I'm going to do the simple stuff first, which is I'm just going to rename my table. I'm going to call this Future Hires Only, and then I'm just going to call this Losses, and capitalize each word as well. So it looks like we have everything now. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into Power Query. I'm going to edit some stuff very briefly. Then we'll go into Manage Relationships and then go back to Power Query, do our full ETL process. So I'll just simply click on this button here. All right, so the one thing I just want to do here is I'm going to bring every single table and have the first row become headers. So as you can see here, we have the column header here, and it's not being read. First, you can use the first row as headers and do that for every single one that's applicable. We're going to apply that, and we're going to close it. Okay, so now we have even more relationships that were kind of made, right? It looks like chaos, to be honest. And I don't like Power BI connecting things for me. Not a fan of it. So I'm just going to delete all this madness. All right, so what I'll do is I'll go to Manage Relationships, and then I have all these different relationships that are already made by Power BI. So I'm just going to click on this button here, select them all, and I'll delete them. And it's going to ask me to delete to confirm, and I'm going to say yes. And there we are. Now we're clean. And then what I'll do is I'll reformat this so that it makes a little bit more sense and it's not all linear like this. So this is probably a good stopping point to really talk about fact tables and dimension tables before we map out the relationships. So fact tables are going to be something like store events, transactions, or measurements. It has numbers you can aggregate, such as sum, count, and average. It grows with time, so many rows. Example can be sales, employees, gains, losses, contracts, and sales items. Those are exact tables that we currently have. And then the other one is going to be dimension tables. So dimension tables are going to store descriptive attributes about the facts. They provide context for slicing and filtering. Examples are going to be dates, branches, roles, companies, and teams. And then a shortcut to really determine if it's a fact versus if it's a dimension is going to be if you ask how many, how much, and when, it's going to be a fact. Whereas if you ask who, what, where, and which, it's going to be a dimension. So the best way I like to look at it is if it's something that you're going to use as a slicer, something that covers the entire table as a whole, such as the company or the roles or the branches, locations, etc., things like that. and it fetches down and grabs data points, it's going to be a dimension. But it's a fact table. Fact table is going to store your by name list. It's going to store your transactions. It's going to store those itemized rows. All right, so going back to Power BI, we have branch. So we know branch is going to be a dimension. We know company is going to be a dimension as well. We know the role is going to be dimension. Sales items. Sales item is going to be a fact table because it's itemized list. Contract is going to be a fact table as well. Current personnel is 100% a fact table. Future hires is as well. Losses are as well. And the positions are going to be a fact table too. And the reason it's set up this way is because all this can reach down and grab these. But we don't necessarily need everything right now. We don't need sales items right now. We don't need contracts right now, but we do need all of these different tables that we have. So we have to find a way to connect them all. So I'll start with current personnel. So we know current personnel ties to losses, but the question is, does this table have redundant data in current personnel? Because if it does, then we truly don't even need this table at all. Now, I'll let you kind of do that on your own side to determine if the quality of data is the exact same or not. But for demonstration purposes for this video, I'll keep it just so we can fetch the data from losses specifically. But what I want to do is connect these two tables. So what is the one thing that we can use to connect the two tables? So you have to identify what is the common value that is the most distinct between the two. So let's go check out the actual tables and see what we got. So we'll go back into Power Query and we're going to look at current personnel. So we have employee ID here. We also have name. And then in losses, we have employee ID and name as well. Now, some people's names can be the same, and this only has first and last name. So it's probably not the best way to do it, nor is the email, because I don't see any middle names or suffixes after the email full name as well. Probably not a good way to connect the data. So we're going to do it by employee ID. So let's go here. We can scroll down to employee ID here. We can scroll down to employee ID here as well. And we can drag this way or we can drag this way. It does not matter. But we're going to connect them both. And then by default, it made a one-to-one relationship. And it's going to make it active. And that's what we want. It's going to make it active so that we can then fetch the data directly. And we don't have to use their used relationship tags at all. But this also solidifies the belief that everyone that's in the losses table is actually in the current personnel table as well. Now, if we wanted to change something, such as we wanted to use email, we can just click on email here, and we can click on email here. But we're not going to do that. As you can see, you have many-to-many as well, which probably signifies that there's duplicate emails. But it is a sample data set, so we're not too worried about that right now. But the employee ID is unique, and that's what truly matters. So we're going to click on Save. And now we have our relationship set up. The next one we probably want to do is going to be current personnel, tying them to a role. So let's go ahead and take the role ID and connect it to role here. And we know it's many-to-one. It's many-to-one because we have a bunch of people that have similar roles across the entire company. And then we have singular roles here defined by the role name and department. So this is going to be the unique one versus this one is going to have the plethora of personnel tied to the role. So we're going to keep it like that. Now, the inverse is going to be one-to-many. It's the same exact thing. The only difference is that the role table will be up here and the current table would be down here. It's no difference. It's just where the file is selected from. So it's many here and one here. And we're going to save that. Now we have a relationship for that. All right, so the company one, it really doesn't matter too much, but we'll just connect it anyway. So we have company ID and company ID here. So we'll connect it. We all know that it's Nexion Holdings anyways. There's not multiple companies, just one company, multiple branches. So we'll just save that one too and make that active as well. And the reason I'm saying active is because if it's inactive, it's not going to calculate based upon the inactive relationship. So if I made it inactive, it would just look like a dotted line, and you would get that instead of a solid line. But we're going to make sure it's active. And the next one we're going to do is branch ID. Branch ID to branch ID here. So we're going to connect those as well. Same thing. And then we have future hires. So we have all the same data for the people. But now what we want to do is determine how can we connect this to the branch in the role. So what we want to do is get the branch ID. We're going to draw that connection here. We're going to make it many to one because we know the future hires are many people. And there's only one singular branch tied to an ID. We're going to save that. So now we can see our relationship there. And then we also want to relate it to the role as well. So we want to take the role ID and associate it to the role ID here. We're going to say many to one as well. Now it's going to look a little chaotic, right? And then what we want to do is get our positions connected to. So our positions are not connected to anything right now, but it's almost similar to the future hires. So we're going to do branch ID here. We're going to save that. And then role ID as well. And there we go. And we're going to save that too. And now it looks a little bit chaotic, right? I don't like how the lines are drawing and interconnecting like this. It looks kind of weird. So what I do is, simply because I'm OCD, is I will move things around just so it's easier on the eyes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put branch, company, and role all in the middle. And then I'll move this around. And then my losses are only connected to this table, so that's easier to see. And then my future hires are connected to two tables, which is branch and role. But so is my positions. So we can just move these around a little bit. And it's a little bit cleaner to see than what it was. So I'll just put this up here just so it aligns with the top as well. Now you don't have to do it like this, but I do it just so it's easier to see as I'm reviewing it later down the road. And it's a little bit more symmetrical. All right, so now you can see the direct linear path that we have for all of our different tables. So then we can go ahead and save that. And now we'll go into the next step. The next step is going to be going into Power Query.